besides matching up the title of a Pixar movie and the name of everyone's third favorite Marvel Comics super team from the 90s, Go Night Thrasher. To me, what's exciting about the 5 awesome actors I'm about to bring on stage is that whether they're playing heroes or anti-heroes, or heroes becoming anti-heroes, or anti-heroes who are slowly going insane, what unites them all is that they're all at the forefront of major TV shows and movies that are kind of redefining, pushing the boundaries of what we expect of protagonists in the projects that we love. Some of them are playing characters with a long history, stretching back decades, if not centuries. Some of them are creating entirely new iconic characters who will be played in 50 years by someone else. And if you have questions for them, we'll have Q&A in a little bit. If you were feeling comfortable and don't want to stand up, you can tweet questions at me. It's at DA and so forth. Now please welcome them. We'll bring them on one by one and welcome them as loudly and as crazily as you can. First up, the Australians in the house know him from Home and Away, moviegoers know him from Maleficent, and soon he'll be Jonas in The Giver, Brenton Thwaites. Next, he's been acting since he was 7 on screens large and small. You may remember him from Finding Neverland and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and if you do, that makes his current role on Bates Motel even creepier. Freddie, Highmore. Our third panelist, in 6 seasons of Sons of Anarchy, he's lied to his friends, killed people, attempted suicide, overdosed, and maintained an impressive mohawk, just doing everything he can to make you forget the time he starred in a movie with the Olsen twins. It's Theo, Rossi. Our fourth panelist, in England he worked steadily on stage, on screen, on radio, then he came to America and taught us all the proper pronunciation of lieutenant. It's Tom Mison from Sleepy Hollow. Last but certainly not least, he's played soldiers, cops, a Quaalude dealer with fantastic facial hair, Robert De Niro's son, and Al Capone. In this fall's Fury, he rides a tank through World War II with Brad Pitt. He also starred in a little show no one's ever heard of called The Walking Dead. Give it up for John Bernthal. Guys, I thank you all so much for being here today. I want to just start off by talking about your current projects and how you kind of came to them. Brenton, we'll start with you. The Giver is a book that has such a kind of reputation. How did you come to the project, and what was it like sort of taking on the role of Jonas?
Well, I read the screenplay first, and from the screenplay I read the book after, and I just fell in love with his journey. It's got such a passionate, visceral, emotional journey from start to finish, and from there I worked with the director Philip Noyce, and we formed a kind of tight bond in the audition room, and
that was it.
And I got lucky.
Freddie, sort of the same question. You're also playing a character with a really kind of iconic stature. I mean, Norman Bates is probably one of the great, cinema villains of the last century. How did you come to Bates Motel? What was it like taking on that role?
No, it was a fantastic opportunity. I guess the opportunity to work with Theo was an amazing one. The scripts were fantastic, and you were right behind it all from the start. So it was just a great opportunity. And you didn't mess it up, as you say, with all the legacy behind it.
And Theo, I tried finding a TV show from the 2000s that you didn't appear on sometime, which was very difficult. Can you talk about kind of transitioning from that into being a recurring and then a regular character on Sons of Anarchy?
I mean, the thing is, in this hustle world, in this game, I mean, you start off, you're like, most of us like blue-collar actors, you're just kind of looking for that one thing that's going to stick. You do all these pilots, you do these shows, some last for a year, some last, and then some become like phenomenons, like cultural phenomenons, like Walking Dead, Bates Motel, Bates Motel, and Sons of Anarchy and stuff like that. I got really lucky because I got on this show when cable television was just like exploding. And it's crazy that we're in our 7th season and coming to an end. it's nuts. So it's and the fact that I'm still alive is absolutely crazy. So yeah, it's cool to have a gig that, you know, for a long time that can kind of lead to everything us just being, you know, it's pretty cool.
Now, Tom Mison, when we all first heard about Sleepy Hollow, it sounded pretty crazy. Now we've seen it, it still seems pretty crazy. I'd love to know, what was it like when you first got the script for the pilot of Sleepy Hollow?
I thought, this is a terrible idea. It will never work to take a character from American literature and throw him into the modern world with demons and completely bastardize it and American history and tear up every book you've ever read in your life. So I'm in. Clearly, no one else is.
We'll get more into American history later, but actually, speaking of American history, John Bernthal, this is not the first time you've been involved in a World War II era drama. You were, of course, in the Pacific. But tell us about Pacific fans in the house. Right. Tell us about how you became a Fury, which, from what I understand, is just a lot of guys in a tank for about 2 hours.
Yeah, very, a whole lot of close quarters. Yeah, look, it's any time you're given the honor to portray a soldier, it's a special, very, very special responsibility. And you know, look, I feel incredibly grateful to be a part of this film. I think that this movie will attempt to sort of take the World War II film and sort of turn it on its head, and I feel like it's going to be as raw and as realistic and gritty a look into World War II as we've seen. And you know, I just learned so much about the time and what it took to be a tanker, a Sherman tanker, and you know, I'm just super grateful for the opportunity.
Well, now, I want to ask all you guys a little bit, you know, you're in projects that have kind of like these major fan bases. A lot of you are playing characters where there's a lot of kind of expectation placed on you, and I'd love to know what that's kind of like. We'll start back down here. Brenton, you know, when you were first cast as Jonas, people were saying you were too old, which makes me feel very old, quite frankly. But what's it kind of been like interacting with the people who've read The Giver? What's that kind of, does that make your job easier or harder knowing there's people kind of watching this project like that?
I guess this is the start of it. I mean, I have to explain to people why I'm 25 and the kid's 12. I can't, I don't know why. There are reasons, obviously, why they age these characters up for, you know, keeping me on set for 20 hours. They can't do that to a 12-year-old. But yeah, there's an expectation because Jonas is loved by so many people. But I guess I had to bring my own thing to the character, like I always have to, and respect what's right. And yeah.
Well, and speaking about kind of bringing your own thing, you know, Freddie, with the Anthony Perkins depiction of the character being so iconic, did you sort of watch that performance? Were there things you wanted to take or things you definitely didn't want to do as you went into Bates Motel?
I guess we brought in the contemporary setting to the show, and so that gave me a certain amount of freedom to sort of not need to tie into the original material. It's a fantastic performance. But certainly there was, you know, you try to kind of be inspired by it and be inspired by what had been done before and, you know, each other and Perkins, but never an attempt to mimic it. Another source of inspiration, but not more than that.
Now backstage, Theo, we were sort of talking about how Sons of Anarchy has just grown and the fan base has grown over the course of years. Has that been kind of surreal for you? Because I think, you know, as you pointed out, this is a show about motorcyclists. It's not necessarily the first thing you think of as being a kind of Comic-Con style event.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, when we first came here, like I said, and now, you know, the fact that we do our panel on Sunday, we close out Comic-Con at the biggest hall and all that. I mean, you really look at the show. I think Walking Dead was, before Walking Dead came along and just started beating everybody to like triple-digit numbers in the ratings. I mean, we were like this massive show, and we became like almost like this graphic novel in a way, where it became like this super heightened reality. And it made it, you know, now there's, you know, like everybody, you know, comic books and action figures and video games on the way and all this kind of stuff, and it's just so much bigger than us. Like you kind of right around, you know, like season 2, whatever. The show becomes so much bigger than the people involved. It's not this little cable show you're doing anymore. It's kind of what it is.
Well, now, Tom, you're kind of a relative newbie to this level of fandom. Have you had good or bad experiences as people have been sort of discovering Sleepy Hollow? Or actually, have you had any weird experiences? This is probably the better question.
There are some weird titters from the front. I think maybe they're planning something weird to happen later. Nothing weird yet. Without that, like the wig and the costume, people don't seem to recognise me. I've been in pubs in North Carolina where we shoot, and thank you, the North Carolina resident. Moonshine. And I've been in pubs in North Carolina, and there were a couple of guys talking about Sleepy Hollow with me sitting next to them, not realising until I, with my outrageous accent, ordered a gin. And then they were like, oh my god, and bought me the gin.
Never pay for a gin again. Well, John, I mean, you know, Theo was mentioning The Walking Dead, and of course you were on that show during the years when it was really becoming a phenomenon. What was it like for you? Because you were playing Shane, and Shane, it's fair to say, is a pretty fascinating figure, what he did during season 2. Like, did people ever kind of confuse you with Shane? Were they ever like, why are you doing all the things you're doing?
Oh, man. You know, I think that, that was, look, I think that I love Walking Dead fans, and I'll start with that. I love Comic-Con fans, and I think that that's rock and roll. And I think that, you know, what was crazy is when it started, before the show even started, there was this massive fan base because of the graphic novel. And I remember when we all introduced ourselves, it was in New York, and we sort of went down the line, and everybody said who they were and what character they would be portraying. Everybody got a nice warm round of applause. And I said, hey, I'm John Bernthal, I'll be playing Shane. Like, nobody had even seen the show yet. You know what I'm saying? And what's crazy about that is then in season 2, when I feel like I actually did some pretty like bad stuff, then people started kind of like me a little bit more. It sort of was a perverted sort of, anyway. But yeah, man, I think that that is, look, I dig the fans, and anybody who, you know, digs the work, I appreciate with all my heart, and it's a thrill to be up here with these guys.
Well, now, so the name of our panel is Brave New Warriors, but all of you guys have had the opportunity to work with some brave old warriors, some of the real kind of icons of acting and performing. I'm wondering, have you guys ever been really nervous about working with someone, or about, has there ever been a performer who was just really imposing when you were on set? John, I'm mostly looking at you, because you were recently starring alongside of some pretty major figures in film history in Grudge Match.
Oh, Grudge Match? Oh, man. Yeah, dude, that was intimidating in the beginning. You know, look, I did that movie entirely to work with my hero Robert De Niro, and to be able to play his son was, you know, one of the highlights of my life. You know, great. And you know, I remember I was so intimidated. I tried to give him as much space as possible. I'll try to make this short. But my one Robert De Niro story is on our last day of shooting, after we'd been together for a couple months, I really wanted to give him a proper goodbye. And I went into his trailer, and I really kind of practiced what I was going to say, and I told him that, you know, he was my favorite actor, and that I got into a lot of trouble in my life, and a lot of the characters that he portrayed on screen showed me that the kind of energy that would normally get me in trouble could actually make me an actor. Now I have a career and a family, and I owed so much of that to him. And he was just like, okay, he just wanted me to stop. And then I was like, no, Bob, you gotta hear this. And I called him Bob, it's like the douchiest thing ever, but that's what I called him. And I said, you know, man, no, you gotta listen to this. That's Robert De Niro, the actor, but now I know the man, and you're so humble and gracious, and you're so much more than I could ever imagine. I'm just so grateful that, you know, that we're friends now, that I know you. And I wasn't wasn't expecting anything in return, but when I was done with my my speech, he just sort of looked at me and he said, you know, we do these things, and then they're over. Yeah, he's the greatest. He's the greatest.
Words to live by. Brenton, what about you? You know, in The Giver, you're acting opposite Jeff Bridges, who has been starring in movies for I think 90 years now. What was it like sort of working with him? Because I know he was very passionately invested in this project too.
It was pretty nerve-wracking. I mean, the first time I went to Philip Noyce's house in South Africa for rehearsals, it was kind of shaky, okay, right now. And I went to shake Jeff's thank you. I went to shake his hand, and you could feel I was so nervous. And he just goes, man, this one's up. I'm fucking scared, man. I'm so scared, you know, I was kind of comforting to know if you've been acting for 90 years or 100 years or whatever, you still have those pre-movie fears. He was super cool.
It's very, very inspiring to know that it never gets any easier with you.
It doesn't get easier.
But Freddie, two of your first major projects, you were working alongside of Johnny Depp, who's famously a very normal person. What was that experience like of being with that performer?
I guess I didn't really have any nerves. I don't know. Maybe starting young, I think Finding Neverland I was 9 or 10 too. You arrived on set and you didn't sort of see him as being this big star, or perhaps realise how lucky you were at the time. And it was just kind of going in and having a fun time. Get to smash out some places and then do it again and have a bit of a cry and say, oh, it's okay. And you know, it was just kind of good fun. I'm not really nervous in any way.
I get paid at the end of the day, so. Theo, now I'm sure everyone here is wondering, who's the scariest person on the set of Sons of Anarchy?
The scariest as a human being, or just in like their personal life?
Interpret that.
I mean, you know, listen, when we did, you know, we did an original pilot, and then they recast a few roles, and I immediately assumed it was me they were going to recast, and they didn't. They actually recast Ron Perlman came on the show. And when Perlman came on, I mean, for me, him, when we reshot the pilot, it was him and Kim Coates. And my first reaction is like, holy shit, that's the dude from Waterworld when Kim Coates walked on. And then I was like, that's Hellboy. Like, that threw me off. Like, this is crazy. Because no one in the world looks like Ron Perlman. Like, no one. Right? So, like, he came on, and you're, like, immediately intimidated. But then he's like, you know, he's a New Yorker like I am, and we, you know, bestest of friends from it, you know, we hang out all the time, you know, we spend holidays together, like in New York, like he's the same thing, and we kind of grew up exactly the same way. He grew up in Washington Heights, and it's just, he's had this career, you're talking about 90 years. Ron's done like, I think he does 90 movies a year. So he's just going, and the fact that he's like, you know, Hellboy and all that. So he was the most intimidating, but he was the most intimidating for me. And there was just super, like, Beauty and the Beast, like I was like, what's going on?
Now, Tom, I wanted to ask you, you know, you have a very lengthy resume in England on stage, on television, and so forth, and yet, when Sleepy Hollow debuted, you were generally described as, oh, he's an unknown, he's a newcomer. What was it like kind of moving from the sort of British television that you're working on into American TV?
Well, it's nice after 10 years to finally be new. That's what it worked. It was a very weird thing in my audition when I was flown over to LA and I met Alex Kurtzman and Len Wiseman and yeah, they're both here. And the one thing that everyone kept saying was classical training. Classical training, or he's classically trained. He's from England, he's a classically trained guy. I thought, I don't know what that means. Slightly floppy and has a weird accent. So there was all the usual worries when you were going to audition. But then added to that, I thought, shit, I need to be classy. And so that was really my main thought throughout the audition. And I thought them.
Question coming in